announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Welcome to another edition of Select Start, the video game podcast for A.C.M.G presents Talk Time Live. This time, a video portion of it. This is part 2 of our Wwe 2K review. I am your host, Xavier Josiah, and joining me is the one and only tag team partner of Sunday night's main event in Slam Wrestling, my man, Roberto Aguilar, Boris Roberto Aguilar. See, these introductions suck, but we are here to review the game. He wasn't here to do it the first time around, but Boris is with me this time, and I want to get his thoughts on it, but we're also going to cover the GM mode as well as the universe mode, which again, the reason why we're spreading this out is because there is so much to cover. So when it comes to these elaborate wrestling games, and I don't agree with the IGNs or the GameSpots, no offense to them, but I don't want to say that they're like, I don't want to say that they're influenced, but it just seems like that it's not thoroughly looked at the way that gamers, especially gamers today, are looking at it. So we decided to split it up in 2 parts. I did the first part last week. And now I got Boris here to give his thoughts on it, but we're also going to cover the second part. Before I do that, what's going on, Boris? How you been, man?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me again. It's always a pleasure geeking out with you, really. Like, whether it be on the Rampage Ramble or whether it be on one of your reviews, it's always a fun time.
Absolutely. And this will be no different. So, I mean, let's get down to it. Like, all right, before we even get down to this, let me just, what is your love for WWE 2K in general? How would you rate that?
2K, are we talking about this specific game?
Just in general, since the 2K series begun.
I would say it's a love-hate relationship, right? Like, I love the idea of the wrestling games. I love some aspects of the wrestling games, but unlike Madden, unlike other 2K games, unlike a lot of the series that are yearly, it's up and down every single year, and it just baffles me sometimes how the quality just changes from year over year over year. Right?
I don't play the NBA. I don't play the NBA versions of those or the other ones that they do. Are they kind of the same thing?
Yeah. I would say that they're a little more stable, but you do get like the changes year over year. That some of them are good, some of them are bad. They might be testing something. They might have added a graphical library that screws everything up, right? So
it sounds about the same.
But the wrestling games to me are the ones that just you don't know what you're gonna get, right? You get a game like 2K19. And then the debacle that was 2020, right?
20, right, exactly. Hey, it was funny. You mentioned how 2K NBA 2K is a little bit more stable, and this one is a little bit more iffy. They actually mention that on My Rise.
Wow.
They poke fun of themselves doing that. Like they're like, I think part of the storyline when they're doing at the mocap center at the PC, and they and doing mocaption for the next 2K game, I guess. One of the guys in the background, one of the voices in the background, actually says that in something of that nature. Like, I wish I was doing 2K basketball instead. It is much easier to do.
That is funny.
He literally says something of that nature. Their audacity sometimes.
Right? But it's funny, but it's also a slap in the face to the consumer.
It is a big slap in the face to the consumer. Like, if I'm spending $100, which I did, I did not get a code for this. I didn't even go for the regular version. I went for the $100 version. So, fool me once,
Yeah, exactly.
But for the sake of the show, I did it because if I am angry about my experience, I'm going to displace it upon all of you. So that's why we're here right now. But, I will say I talked about it last week. It has some good things and it has some bad things, but like you said, it's the continuous thing. It's formulaic in an algebraic way. And if you understand algebra in the sense of integers, positive times negative equals a negative. Yep. In a nutshell, meaning if you got some good, you got some bad, but it's still not the best. It's still a game that's really, is this game worth your money? And that's what we're here to talk about. So let's get down to it. We're going to get your full thoughts on this in a bit, but let's talk about GM mode, because this is the return of everybody's favorite type of sim mode. This is, to me, I'm going to go with this as a positive, only because it's not easy, and in some cases it shouldn't be because of the nature of it. We got too many armchair bookers in the world, and I think that they made this so you wouldn't be able to get through this easily to encourage your ego even more. So it is challenging to play, but this is not a pick up and play type of game for gamers who just want to be leisure. You're going to have to think really hard and strategically to book these right, to make your money, to earn more, to do more, to beat out the other, brands, the other wrestling promotions and brands out there, which you can pick from, Raw, SmackDown, WCW, NXT, both versions, good one and bad one. Which I found funny that they put that on there. It's like they got the golden black, and they got the crappy one I never watched.
Yep. But what's interesting is that there's no no ECW.
No, I agree. I wondered why they didn't do that. Like they already had a school. One of your arenas is a schoolyard. It is like a what is it? A gym, like a gymnasium or something like that. So you start off with that. So it's like that's easy pickings. It's like the Murphy Rec Center in South Philly here in Philadelphia. Exactly. So yeah, they have that, but I do like that you have the ability to play, spectate, simulate, the matches if you want, So because I never liked simulation games that with M. Dickey, that you recognize that name?
Yep.
M. Dickey, for those who don't know, M. Dickey is a longtime developer, a solo developer who's created this elaborate simulation wrestling games for years. Like he has a really big cult following, and then some way down the line, he finally got into the 3D realm with it, but he's the only one developing this game. So the good thing is he managed to try and do a Aki-like platform. It didn't turn out that way. And there are people who would swear by him because of their allegiance of him. I'm looking at this as like, it's a good attempt, but if he had one more developer or two, this could be a solid game. This could be a really solid game, but the simulation part is what everybody used to cling to. Yep. I feel like this is M. Dickey simulation done right. And I'll give 2K that much credit for that, because you can wrestle and the engine it's as solid as you could get in this case. I still don't understand the gist of this, mode. I still haven't rocked it out. And I think you got to go through some humble, hard times before you can really elevate yourself to, stardom, which is kind of reminds me of how WWE and WCW kind of went, because, it's the story of WWE was the ratings were not up for like consecutive type of days. And then all of a sudden, boom, they just hit the mark. They got the right person as their main person, and he was popular enough, and, it just went from there, and the Attitude Era came, and it just beat out WCW. So I feel like they kind of want to make it challenging enough for you, but for you to stick to it, to be consistent, and unfortunately, you got to be repetitive with a lot of your matches, even if they're not good. You know what it is too? It's basically the Cena method. It's shoving it down your throat until you like it.
Yes, that's kind of because the more you replay the same match, the stronger their feud is going to be, which means that a better overall score you're going to get. So it is kind of funny that you're basically they're teaching us how to book for WWE.
That's exactly what they're doing. It is in that algorithm in itself. So, I mean, I dig that in a sense. And I mean, this is their brand. That's the way they want it. That's fine. I see right through that.
Yeah. It's funny though. It's funny. It's kind of like one of those things where it made me go, huh. And I learned this last year playing through the game, right? And it's one interesting aspect of it, and I'm not sure if you're going to touch on it, but I wanted to bring it up now. Yeah. Is the fact that, like, I kind of feel like you're forced to go and play this a long time. Like, you're not going to get the great ratings. You can have the best matchups humanly possible. You can follow what they're telling you, their algorithm to a T, and you're not going to do well. You're forced,
even if you're on easy.
Exactly. Which, question, is that a good or a bad thing?
I would lean towards the bad because I would say, and this is the thing, when I review games a lot, I often talk about making it the way that, making it for the way that people want to play it by choice. I want people to have a choice. Like I just played, Wwe Long just recently, which is kind of like a Elden Rings type of game or Dark Souls type of game. So it's beautiful. It plays really well, but it is not easy, and you will grind consistently. And if you're not into that, what's the point of having a story?
Exactly.
Why have a story? Yeah, nobody's going to care about the story because they already worn out going through the deal. I like games that are challenging by choice, and if you have this game and it's like it has a difficulty level, and you're not you're not holding the hand of the person at first before they can get really into it, and allow them to choose to want to get challenged. That's not good.
Yeah, agreed. And then it's one of those things where I don't like the fact that there comes a point where you can do whatever you want and everything's going to be great.
Yeah, exactly. With that said, I do. Now, here's the thing. So I don't know if you played it deep enough to know this, but does playing the matches help better than you would just simulating the match?
It doesn't. It really doesn't. I thought of that. So I tried playing some matches and I was getting the same score, but over time, obviously you would just get a better score. So I think that portion doesn't add like a +1, to the algorithm in order for you to get.
Now I do realize because it has the star rating that there is a way to raise the star rating on normal matches or in universe mode.
So you can, right? Like it does. It is possible, but it doesn't. I don't think grand scheme it makes a huge difference.
I mean, for the most part, I think looking at the screen right now, I'm looking at my recent status of things for the last match that I did, and I actually tied with one of my rival companies, WCW, for the ratings of 3.5, which is a first. So I was doing something right, and they do, to their credit, they do give you advice on how to work around it.
Yes.
Like my opening match wasn't as good, to start it off, but my mid-card match and my promos were really good, and my main event matched up with WCW's and got over on SmackDown, which is great because SmackDown is number one for once. So in the bottom of that, they let you know like what was good and what was bad. They get, Triple H gives you like, constructive criticism to what it is too, along with that. So I dig that. It's just like we said, it's going to require a lot of grinding to it. If you hit the R3 button, it will allow you to auto book your matches and such. So you can automatically do that. But I don't know if you should really trust that because it doesn't always work all the time. Even a draft, even when you draft which I find the drafting part is the most fun part of it all.
Yep, exactly.
I like the drafting.
Exactly it.
I absolutely like the drafting. I go crazy on the drafting. I end up broke, which I probably shouldn't do in the drafting in the first place. But I found that to be really, enjoyable. And then once you get into actual booking part, it's like, now we get into the real, the real deal with this. But if you hit the R3 button, then you automatically book for, it books for you, and you got to hope that they go in the right direction. As well as when you draft, it's like you can go for the recommendations, but there's no guarantee that those recommendations are good recommendations.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly it, right? Like, do you listen to them? Yes or no? Like, it's to me, I think that it's teaching you for the future, but at that current point in time, it might be a mute point, right?
Right. Yes, exactly. So the show logistics too is it gives you the opportunity to purchase better production, marketing, and promotion for your show, which I actually like too. As the weeks go by, you start to raise a little bit more money. You get to, do more advertising. You get to do more promotion. You get better arenas and buildings. Eventually, you will be able to get to a point where you can acquire a contract for a legend to appear, which has the highest ratings of them all.
Yep.
But you got to get to that level. It's going to be weeks before you get to that point. So they really want you to be patient with the process. Like, this is not a just jump in and just you're getting at it. I think also, Boris, this is a game that's probably better with playing against your friends rather than the computer. I feel like because it's an even ground when your friends are playing it, because I don't think it's like going to bowling where nobody knows how to bowl.
Exactly.
It's like you're going in and it's like you don't care. It's just like we're all on the same, we all have the same handicap in this case.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a huge part of it, right? Like a lot of these fighting games and all the new features that you're getting, I find that even something like this, which in theory you can play on your own, but it's always better like in a group of people, right? Like simulating those early 2000s days playing SmackDown and SmackDown 2, you know, having Doritos and Mountain Dew and, you know, with your buddies around that one person who bought the game.
Right. So we have that, but the one thing I do want to point out, I didn't mention yet, is that the part of the card that you build requires you to do promos. Now, if I'm correct, in 2018 or 19, you had the ability to, you know, do promos. And I think it might have been 19 because I didn't play 20. So I skipped out on 20 because 20 was the debacle. 19 was a little bit better, and then 21 was skipped, and then we are with 22. So I think it was 19 where you had the ability to use promos, and they didn't decide to bring that back and use that for obviously what it could have been really well put for this particular mode. So you go on this hoping that you can get, you know, a good rating or a good, actually a good rating for that segment, and you just got to go on a limb. It's just click and it's done. I wish you would have been able to actually go in and do the promos where you could pick and select, you know, what you want to say during the thing. That granted, it wasn't the best mini game that they ever had, but it was still a great way to interact and be more involved in a situation.
Yep, exactly. Here, you literally just say, I want this person, wrestler A, to cut a promo. Then you have an option. What type of promo do you want? Right?
Right.
It's very formulaic, right? It's, do they pump up themselves, pump up the crowd, or call someone out?
Right. Or it is also advertising and charity.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, when is it a good time to, you know, bust out any of these at an appropriate time, you know? Yeah. So that's a whole situation there. But otherwise, I actually do like it. I think I would like to put more time in it, but you have to put more time in it. It's not just a going in, you know, jumping thing. I think there is something solid about this mode that I dug. So this one I would give a thumbs up for, in my opinion.
Agreed. Overall, it has its issues in the sense of I'm a very casual gamer nowadays, right? Especially fighting games. We'll talk about this at the very end. But anytime that I'm forced to whip out notes and write stuff down to keep things in check, to keep track of stuff, you're going to take me away. I know that that's a huge seller for people. This is my personal opinion on
this is like the Dark Souls people.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, so for me, once I'm forced to, like, you know, look like Charlie Day in that meme where he's like tracking everything, that takes me out of it. Having said that, it's still a fun mode to play. Right. And I just play it, like, I just have fun with it. Do these cards, I try my best, I try to remember stuff, but I don't think I'm getting the most out of this mode, right? But it is enjoyable. If I had to say up, like thumbs up or thumbs down, I would give it a thumbs up overall because it is fun. Let's face it. Everyone has been a fantasy booker in some shape or form. A lot of people who play these games have played those e-feds back in the day, right? Whether it was those simulation e-feds like this mode or those actual written e-feds where you would cut promos against people. So, and like I used to run one, so I used to live off of this stuff. But thumbs up from me.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I thought about that too. Like, got me writing like a whole booking card, like a whole match card on a napkin, like Paul Heyman used to.
Yeah,
just to get this, just to beat this game.
Yeah, and it's funny. I did one, so I had my my notepad, and I was at my parents' place. I'm like, I really do feel like Paul Heyman right now.
Was your hat back behind your back, or was it in front?
I was actually wearing one. It was hilarious. Yeah, it's a good time.
Start growing a ponytail, and we gonna have to talk.
Carry around a phone like one of those 80s Zach Morris phones.
All right, so we got that part, but now we got universe mode, which is one of my most focused modes in any of the 2K games, because it allows you, in the words of what they say, it allows you to, play in your own sandbox and do whatever you want. I wish that was absolutely true, because what stops that is, somebody, dumping a number 2 in my sandbox whenever there's a glitch, a bug, or a crash in this thing every so often. And it just takes away the entire experience for me, but I still play it because it's like, this is close. I don't play any, it's my way of creating my world.
Yes.
And I don't normally play as the, known characters. I still have not played. I told you when I first got into this game, I texted you and I was like, who the hell are these people? Cause I haven't watched WWE in like forever. And I'm like, who the hell? And some people I recognize from, when I hear you guys at Sunday Night's Main Event, talk about it, and, other, radio format, platforms that cover wrestling. And I heard these names before. I'm like, oh, this is that person. This is that person. And then it's the people that I haven't seen in like forever that has a complete cosmetic change. Like I told you, I went blitz over like Dakota Kai. I'm like, what the hell happened? Like Dakota Kai was drop dead cute before, but now she's like smoking.
Yeah,
and
I know.
I couldn't handle that.
Your mind was blown. Like
I was blown away. Like I knew she was like, she was really cute, but like they went full force and she was like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where have I been? Jason, what it was, Alexander?
Yeah.
He got locks now. I'm like, what the? I can tell how long I haven't watched it because last time I watched it, he had a mohawk. He had a faux hawk. So as a person who used to have locks, I know how long that length of their hair is to know how long I haven't watched the show. And just so many other things like Randy Orton and his porn mustache. What is going on with it? Like, it was so much change in this thing. It was to a point that like for a couple hours, I just stood in the corner.
Yeah.
It's like, what is going on? I'm not at home anymore. Some of the music I was like, Finn Balor's and like, which I thought it was okay, but like there was just so much I haven't been accustomed to in this thing. And it's like, okay, just take a deep breath, go in, it'll be fine. But going into universe mode, but I digress, going into that it's my own world. And every once in a while it's this, I hope for this world to be stable, but I always find it not stable. And unfortunately, this is the same thing that always happens. And it happened, the same problems that this game has had dating back to even, 2K18, they're still experiencing now. And I'm just disappointed because we're in like I said in the first video, we are in the 5th generation of PlayStation. I don't know what generation we are of Xbox and all this stuff, but we are in the newer generation where like they promised us to have games that should not do what this is doing. And we have a game right now that's more playing like a PlayStation 3 game or, performing like a PlayStation 3 game rather than a PlayStation 5 game. And that's what I have issue with. Like the addition, and then on top of that, this mode, there's not really much change to it. Yeah. There really isn't. The only change that I really found in here was the contested actions.
Yes.
Which allows you to which randomly decides what action occurs during a rival match. And I would have liked at least for them to allow you to pick it yourself or let them choose randomly. And they don't. You got to hit the X button and you just whatever happens happens.
The only addition to this mode from previous years is momentum.
Yeah, I can say that. Yeah, but that's still that's all right. That's 2.
That's so minor. Like it's like look, I understand. And I'm a developer by nature, so I 100% understand how much work it can be to add features, to add this and add that. So here's my takeaway. In terms of this mode is, okay, cool. You're not going to be adding stuff. Make it stable.
That's all. And it's not like it's an entirely new engine. It's the same engine from last year. Exactly. Like it's hard for me to, be on their side with this when you got so many. I can name so many other engines from so many other games that are stable.
Yep.
Like, you know, the company, the team, it's Ryu Gotoku who does the Yakuza game series, the Like a Dragon game series.
Yes.
They use the same Dragon engine for every single game, but they do allow different things to happen. Every time I play the game, I never have an issue.
Yep.
And that game has transitioned beautifully onto the PlayStation 3, 4, and 5 with no issue.
Yep.
Sega is a beast, yes, we know, but like, there should be no reason why this game shouldn't. I can name a bunch of other, you know, games with some engines and stuff like that.
For me, it's okay. When you introduce a new engine, I'm going to give you the introduction year to have bugs, to have issues. It's a new engine. I understand how hard it can be because you're learning the APIs and it's kind of trial by fire.
Yeah.
After the first year, as long as the team is the same, and that makes me wonder if the team is the same. You know, if it is the same team, you should be able to crack the bugs to squash
by
them.
now. After a year.
Now. That's exactly it, right?
And they can't make the same excuses they did prior to because, you know, Ukes left. So they had to change their team. And to their credit, they did okay last time. We can't give them that same excuse this time. We can't.
Yep, exactly. Look, I'm not trying to crap on this mode. I think it's still fun. I think it's still versatile. I think there's so much that you can do. But the difference between good and great is that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I shouldn't have to experience any glitches from this game. And I've showed you the glitches that has occurred in the game so far that I've, you know, experienced.
Max, I was creating a beautiful looking belt. It made me go from 6 to 12 so fast how beautiful this belt looked. It glitched, lost everything.
Oh, man, that sucks. Oh, which, by the way, they just, we found out today that WWE 2K just issued out a new patch. And one of the things that they were doing was that because a lot of people experience, apparently, I thought I was the only one. Thank God I'm not. And apparently, it just happened to you as well. But one of the problems was that they, you know, if you're on the creative suite for too long, the game just tires itself out and crash and shuts down.
Yep.
And
I think the issue is, I think it's a memory issue. Again, being a developer, I'm like, I bet you this has so many resources loading and so many times that it just overloads the memory, and they're not they're not exiting certain resources. So everything just keeps piling up and piling up and piling up. Because I do notice that the longer you're in creation mode, it starts lagging.
Like, I'll give you an example of the moveset mode.
Yes.
The moveset mode is a perfect example because I tend to like know exactly what I want, or I'm just trying to skip down to every one and get down there because I'm not going to watch every single move just to see what they do because I already know most of them because it's the same moves for like generations ago. So I'm going to speed down a bit, but it's supposed to be, it's meant to allow you to speed down. You shouldn't have to crash because it's trying to load up the memory to do so.
Yep.
Again, why are they having the same problems that they had even when Ukes were there?
That's my point, right? This should be like, you know what? If you're so concerned about creating the next game, have a team that works on the previous game, right? Like, I'm sure that's how they do it, but I'm just not seeing the improvements that we should be seeing year over year, right? And again, I'm comparing. I'm not even comparing this to 2019-18. I'm comparing this to WWE 2K23, last year's game. The difference, I'm finding the same bugs between the two games, right?
I will give them credit. I will give them credit for one thing, Boris, and that is they did improve on doing tag team maneuvers in universe mode. If you recall last year, you weren't able, for some odd reason, you were not able to do tag team finishers.
It's because
during a match,
McMahon doesn't like tag teams. You should know this, Dax.
And I guess this is definitely the Triple H era of the game. By the way, I was almost celebrating the fact that he was not in this game. He's not in the story modes, but he is. You can play him in the games. They kind of snuck him in nonchalantly into in a player select. So if any of you like really kind of pissed off at Vince throughout the years, you got a reason to. There you go.
Boom.
He has some good reasons to be beat up in this case.
Very much.
But I mean, it's really interesting. And also, I would say the created arenas, also, there are glitches to it as well when adding it on. I put images that I uploaded onto the turnbuckles. Does not show.
Yes.
I realized that I'm like, what is going on here? This is, I mean, why is this thing coming out unfinished? And that's exactly what it is. Like, have we not learned a lesson from Crystal Dynamics and CD Projekt Red in 2020 when they came out with this rush stuff and expected us to just like deal with it?
I feel okay. So one thing that I'm yes and no, like yes and no. So yes, because I'm finding that video game companies have the cojones to delay games now.
Yeah.
Which, in my opinion, still hurts the game, but I don't think the average consumer realizes why there's delays, right? So delays are happening. So that's yes. No, because we keep seeing the same issues.
Right.
But now, this is what I wanted to talk to you about. Is it our fault? Is it the hardcore gamers' fault?
Yes. Yes.
I will
100% say yes, because we allow it. Because we're not, as I said in the first video, at the very beginning of the first video, I said, I want us to look at this from a consumer standpoint, not a gamer standpoint, not a fan standpoint. Too often, especially in the wrestling community, we settle.
Yes. And
I'm saying I don't, but I'm including us as we the people. We settle for things, and we don't think that we have the power or, are afforded the power to make decisions, to make them, or to give our voices out, to let them know that we demand better for our buck.
Yep.
Except now, because if you go into the Twitter account of 2K, I've seen more people voicing out about the bugs and glitches of this game than I ever have in any of the other games, where the ideology for, this game series is, we still love it because it's a wrestling game, because it's a WWE game. And it's all we have. Now we're starting to see people, voice out like we're paying too much money. They're starting to use critical thinking. And I'm really happy to see that. And I don't know if AEW or these other upcoming games that are, scheduled to come out, they have some type of influence of, people thinking that now we'll be having options very soon. And if any of them, especially Fight Forever, ends up being better than 2K, then they're in trouble, because they had the advantage here with this game, because they were able to get this game out at the time that they did before, AEW was able to get theirs out. And to me, their job should have been to make sure that this game was highly acclaimed organically. I want to stress that out, organically. Yep. To make sure that, when Fight Forever comes out, that you can't say it. Yeah, it's visually stunning. It always is. That's not the issue. It's never the issue. Photorealistic is you could possibly be with this game, but it's not about being superficial anymore. We want to see more stability in this game, and unfortunately, we're not seeing it. And God knows if we ever will, because they don't really listen to us to an extent. And when it comes to customer service, they suck. They've always have. I've had the hardest time. I mean, my 2K18, time was the worst I've had with this company. And they will sweep it under the rug with no problems. And I have a history of notes of that whole entire situation. So I don't know. But with that said, like you said, there is something, if I want to say anything positive about it, there is something worth playing about the game. It's just, you got to go in expecting it not to have a perfect experience. You got to go in expecting that there might be a glitch and bug after a while. And what I haven't gotten through yet is still, once I start creating more characters, I've officially played like at least 55 hours into this game, right, as of right now. Creating characters, creating arenas, creating belts, going into My Rise, playing through that. I will give them credit that My Rise story mode, one of the strongest story modes they've ever had. But 55 hours into this game doing all this, but I haven't gotten so deep to universe mode to the point where like I start creating more characters and then things start glitching even more, because there were times when you would book a match and you'd be going up against your own tag team partner or your faction member and all that stuff, or you see one of the screens go up and it's like nobody's there, which means a glitch is coming. Yep. There's so many. I haven't gotten to that point yet, but considering that I've already seen glitches and all that stuff, that train's coming. I know it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you summed it up really well, right? Like, I think overall as a game, it is okay. I think that it is respectable. Obviously, your mileage may vary depending on how into the product you are.
Yeah,
I think that some of the modes you can get a lot more mileage on, right? The GM mode and My Universe mode, obviously being the two ones where that's going to keep you entertained for the next year, right? Until the next game comes out. Right. But I do think that from just a consumer point of view, it is worrisome, troublesome, and kind of makes me a little angry that we are seeing the bugs that we're seeing, considering that last year's game we saw these same bugs. So you would expect just from an update point of view that we wouldn't be seeing them. So that is kind of troublesome, worrisome. And like you said, is this going to improve? No. But I think that, at the end of the day, us hardcore gamers, we need to demand more from developers. And I'm not just talking about this game alone, right? I see this across the board with a lot of games. And this is the issue right now with the industry and where the industry is going, right? In an age where DLCs and updates are available, this shouldn't be happening year over year.
Yeah. And I will go back to, going back to what we were talking about when you asked me whose fault is it? Not only is it our fault for games, it's our fault for the WWE period. Because the same thing that goes on with this game is the same thing that goes on with the actual company itself. Like, they can do better. And they have done better, but it's still not enough according to all the reports I hear from you guys and stuff like that. And, when I hear the feedbacks of some of these, Raw and SmackDown events, it's a change, but it's like, it's not a must see type of situation. You're still paying for these, I guess you're paying to go see these premium live events live. You're still paying for their merchandise. You're still watching the TV. You're still giving them the ratings. As if there's nothing else on TV. Yeah. We are the cause of this. Yeah, it's like when I was watching The Daily Show, one of the special guests of The Daily Show a while back, he was talking about like, nobody's to blame. No, Donald Trump is not to blame for Twitter. We are, because we're on Twitter complaining about it all the time, but we're the ones who are in there complaining and making a big deal. So if we really want to stop complaining, whether we do something about it or just leave Twitter.
Yeah. Exactly.
This is the same thing, like,
Yeah, exactly. Like our consumerism is just so deep into things that we're afraid of change. We're afraid of, of our voices being heard. We're so fickle. It's so funny. We want more. We yell to the clouds that we want more, but we don't actually do anything to want more. And this, man,
and it's not and not enough of us to do at doing it.
That's exactly it, right? You need many voices.
Yeah. And I will tell you, as somebody who do rebel and do fight back and goes against the grain, not in a contrarian type of way, just like if I see something that's not, that I feel is not good or not healthy or, constructive, I'm not messing with it. I'm not investing in it. Again, hence why I stopped watching that product ages ago and why I was going crazy figuring out what the hell was going on in this game right now.
Yep.
But I will say this, it's not easy to do. It's not easy to go against the grain of the world because everybody wants to be connected in some form or fashion. So isolating yourself from that, it's not easy, but sometimes it's the best thing to do.
Agreed 110% on that, man. It's funny. Like I give you don't understand how much credit I give you for being able to step away from it, right?
You believe it's like almost like a decade since I've really watched. Yeah. Since I really watched WWE.
Right? Because I've seen, like, honestly, I've seen you around the boards since I really started posting a lot, right? And even then you said how long it's been. So, yeah, it's man, that's crazy.
I think the last time I watched it was like Gargano and Ciampa had their rivalry.
Wow.
Right near the end of the Golden and Black era.
Yeah, so that was 2000, I want to say 16.
Possibly.
17. It was 17. Yeah. Wow.
It is quite possibly like, and I slowly trickled away. From all of it. So it's just like, I didn't go cold turkey, but it was at a point I was just, okay, eventually it's going to hit the point where I'm just going to say I'm done. And it finally came in. It was right probably during when Ronda Rousey came in for a bit, and it was like, that's it. I'm good. I'm good with this.
Yeah. Honestly,
and I'm a big wrestling fan too. So I mean, I'm a big wrestling fan, not a big WWE fan. There's a difference.
There's a big difference. And I think that's what a lot of people are starting to realize, right? Is there's so much product out there, similar to video games. There's so many video games. There's so much wrestling out there. You can choose to play and watch whatever you want. You can do whatever floats your boat, right? Like that's the best saying for this. Whatever floats your boat, whatever makes you happy. If you hate watch or hate play something, let it go.
That's a waste of energy.
Yeah. It is.
And again, I will say this again. This is nothing against the talent of WWE. They are awesome. They are freaking awesome. It's the direction their company is going towards them. It has I love every one of those guys. I think they are awesome. They work their asses off to get where they at. And I also understand why they don't want to lose what they have sometimes. But
of course,
sometimes it's morality versus money, man. And sometimes you got to go with morality.
Yeah.
Because money won't get you. Money won't get you that far, believe it or not. So, all right, we got through those. So, all right, in essence of that, thumbs up or thumbs down or thumbs in the middle for universe mode?
For universe mode, I'm gonna give it thumbs in the middle. It's still fun. It's still good, but it's that but that we just spent the past 15, 20 minutes talking about that keeps me going from here to here, right?
Yeah.
So it's thumbs in the middle for me. If
I agree, I'll co-sign with that.
Yeah, so let's just say we live in a world of black and white. I'm gonna have to say thumbs down, just because there are things that really bothered me. Again,
positive times negative equals a negative.
No, exactly.
That's exactly. All right, so we got through those parts. I now want to go over to you and just give you the full reign. Like overall, what didn't you like aside from these two that we just spoke about, and what did you like? What are your pros and cons?
All right, showcase mode has never been a mode I played much. I'm not a again, look, I'm a basic gamer now. Like if it wasn't for my geek shows, I probably would game even less than I do right now, right?
Right.
But I'm a fan of just picking up the controller, having some matches with some buddies or whatever, AI if no one's around, right? And for like 20 minutes and then letting go, and that's it, right? So a lot of these features for me aren't made for me, right? Showcase being one of them. And for me, the showcase mode, it was fun, but it's just something that, okay, I can live without. Obviously, My Rise is always fun. That mode is always fun from year over year. I just find that just going up through the ranks and all that is always a fun time. I like that one. GM mode is probably my favorite just because it's like it just brings me back to simpler times. And overall, I think that GM mode is by far my favorite mode out of everything that they have. Universe mode, again, fun, would be better if it didn't have the issues present. And personally, I just can't wait to update the game because, like you mentioned earlier, an update did come out, so I kind of want to see what's been fixed, what's good, what's bad.
It hasn't been much, but some of the parts that we were, crying and bitching about, respectively so, they're claimed to have fixed. And I'm just going to say claimed.
Yes, claimed. Exactly. So, yeah, overall, like the War Games match, though, I really had fun with that.
I think GM and the War Games match may be their stars.
Yes. War Games match, the one thing about the War Games match is the zooming in and out. It felt like I was watching the WWE product with the camera cuts, right?
I heard about the multiple camera situation.
Yeah, the zooming in and out on the War Games match was the one thing where I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird, right?
Right.
I wish that there was a way that you can just pick a fixed camera, even
you can
a wide shot.
You can.
You can.
Yeah, I believe. All right, knock on wood, that I can confirm that they always had a way for you to control the cameras.
Okay,
that's always. I think that if you go into settings, that's always been the case.
Yeah,
like that's just in general for all matches because not everybody want to go to have the dramatic look all the time. So you could actually take that out.
Okay, there you go. So I for some reason I didn't go through all the settings like I usually do for games. And you know what? I do know that exists. I do that. Mm-hmm. I do play tinker with that in all the sports games. Right. Overall, yeah, GM mode and war games by far my favorite two things to do. And I think that overall this game was fun. My one issue, and what brings it down at least a point and a half, is the fact that I think that where we're seeing glitches, and I'm not saying I understand we live in a world with so many features, so many things can go wrong. So it's kind of stupid of me to say this in a sense. I expect there to be glitches and bugs, which is, I shouldn't, but we live in a world where that's the natural thing. I just find that the glitches and bugs that we did find should have been fixed year over year.
But here's the reason why I won't forgive them for that, because these, like you said, this is a company that didn't just start doing a wrestling game. Yeah. They've been doing wrestling games for well over almost a decade now, because it's the 2K series now. Well, actually, you can say that they've been doing it for quite a while too, because before the 2K series, they've been doing the other ones, and it's the same engine to that extent, to some extent. I mean, or it's the same fundamentals, if you will, of that. So at some point, this is the part that I'm saying. Last year, you could kind of give them a break or a curve because we haven't seen them in a while, and we haven't had a stellar wrestling game in a while. So when you're comparing to 22 to the likes of 20, 19, and 18, that's a low bar to go. So of course people are going to get it. But this year, I just feel like I think the IGNs and the GameSpots and all the stuff are jumping the gun again, or they just haven't played it as thoroughly as we wanted to think. And I think they rely on the naivete of some gamers that won't think deeply or use critical thinking to think like, oh, they gave it an 8, so this must be a good stellar game. Or there are people online on the social media that will often say like, I don't know what's the problem with this game. You only played the normal modes. You haven't gone deep into universe mode. You haven't gotten deep into the creative suites and all this stuff. Like we don't know to that end. I mean, they are good, but they do crack, and that's the reality. That's why we have a patch today, and we're going to have more patches coming soon with this game. Yeah. But the fact that this is experiencing the same things, it's hard for me to even give it the same grade that you would give it last year. In a sense, because they should have known better. They should have learned from now. They should have improved by now, and they have improved on specs of things, but not everything. So I cannot give them what they want in here. And I see right through them. To me, they're transparent with their marketing and stuff like that. If you go into their social media pages and they're just shooting off what IGN has said or what all these random fans are saying or whatever like that, you and I understand the marketing and promotion of the aspect. We know the smoke and mirrors of this whole thing. I'm not falling for it, man. It's like, no. And like I said, I'm glad to see that there are people on social media that are starting to realize it as well. I can't wait till Fight Forever comes out, and I hope that they give them a run for the money, because just like any competition, it can really help this game series to finally get on the ball, because they're not the only ones in town.
Yep, exactly, right? Like, and I give credit to all the other wrestling games, right? Like that arcade wrestling game, Fire Pro.
Fire Pro there's nothing better than Fire Pro.
No, but here in North America, it's a very niche audience that would play these games, right? There's nothing mainstream like 2K until AEW's Fight Forever. So I think similar to the wrestling, right? The world of wrestling, when AEW's game comes out, I think we'll hopefully we'll see some real competition there. And you know, there's a small part of me, the pessimist in me, that is a little nervous about that game, right? But I'm really hoping for good things. I'm hoping that it's a fun game, and you know, again, I think that will wake up. Hopefully that wakes up 2K into fixing these things, because I think you'd hit the nail on the head where, yes, it is overall a better game as an entertainment
by default.
Form. Yes, by default. But if I'm taking a look at this as a consumer, as like putting on my developer hat, I can't even. I have to give it at least half a star less than last year's game.
I agreed. So with that said, we got our final grade here. Now I have my way of doing final grades, and you can do it whatever way you want, but I already have it. So I'll let you go first with your overall grade for this. Give it a letter grade. I'm curious to what you would give this overall.
I'm going to have to give this a B minus, for the simple fact that, again, year over year, I expected more changes. I'm not saying it's a bad game. It's a good game. A B minus is a respectable score, my friends, but I can't say it is great. I can't praise it. I can run up the mountains and say this game is a must buy. You'll have fun. I'm not denying that, but it's not like, I'm not running to the stores and dropping down money for this game. Let's just say that. But I am sports entertained. I was video game entertained. It's a fun time. War games matches are always great. And the various modes that you have, my universe and my GM, are pretty fun overall. So, but I can't, in my heart of hearts, can't forget and forgive for some of these glitches that we're seeing, and that really hurts me. And so that's why it's, instead of getting a B plus, I have to give it a B minus.
Well respected and agreed, because through my scoring of this game based on originality, overall graphics, sound, gameplay, fun factor, replay value, actor performance, we'll talk about that, and story, I had to give it the grade that I gave it. So originality, nothing original, because it's the same thing we played with, just a few extra. The bells and whistles that they have are actually just the things that they were supposed to fix, and it should have been there. Now it's a new feature because it's fixed. So I gave it an 80% for that, respectfully. Overall graphics, that's never a problem. It's always, the photorealistic characters of the game. I would give it a 95, even though some of the animations of if I'm just basing it, let's put it like this. If I'm just basing on the character models itself, that gets a 95. The reason why I think I'm not giving it a 100 is because if you play the My Rise mode, as opposed to, because I mentioned this on the first video, you play the My Rise mode, and then you play the actual matches, the animations are different. The animations are much more smoother during the entrance to the match and the match itself, and animations during gameplay. But you go into My Rise mode in the locker room and everything, they look very robotic, and their mouth movements are robotic, and it gets really bad there. So it's very noticeable to that case. But the models itself looks really good. Sound and music, never had a problem. If I'll give it 100, but I should give it a 95 for the fact that you cannot use the actual celebrity music this year as entrance music like you could last year. First of all, I should give it a 90. I should give it a 90 because Protect Your Neck is not on air again. Two, and on top of that, they got Metallica on there, and I can't use that as an entrance song. I was mad. I'm like, why did they go back to doing that?
If there was a way to delete music, I would delete Metallica from the soundtrack.
Are you serious?
Dude, yeah.
This is over.
Nah, I love Metallica. I really do. So
don't make me go say anger on you.
The music fan in me loves Metallica. The pirate in the early 2000s.
All right, Napster.
We are all Napster. I love it.
Yeah, right. Gameplay, gameplay is solid. They made a few improvements with it. AI to me was a little better than it was before. I had better matches this time around than I had. I told you about the Hell in a Cell match I had with Brock versus my character was just it was a perfect match, a perfect Hell in a Cell match. Everything from fighting in the cage, grinding, meat grinding a character in the cage and throwing them in the cage, throwing them out of the cage, climbing up and dropping them off into the table, all that. And then him coming back up to do the old Mick Foley thing and Undertaker thing. It was it was a perfect Mick Foley Undertaker match. So, and it wasn't something that I dictated. The AI did a great job beating the living crap out of me before I beat them. So gave me a good challenge, and I did enjoy that. Fun factor, I would give 80. And again, that's mostly because this would be a lot more fun had not the glitches, bugs, and crashes that I've experienced. And the fact that I had to experience that the first 12 hours of the release of the game.
Yep.
that hurts.
Yeah.
And I just saw money just go away. I saw that crash. You like a cartoon, your eyes just go cha-ching, and it just goes to cents right there. So they get an 80 for me on that. Replay value 85 because like we said, all of the play modes are good, but if they were stable, I think I would have given a higher percentage, and that would go for fun factor as well.
Yep.
And then we have actor performances, which I give is the lowest score. This gets a 50.
Yeah.
This gets us a 50% because the ADR is the worst. The ADR and the audio syncing in there, if you look at it, and if you look at the first video, I'll show a few clips of the audio syncing, and the ADR just really is not good at all. So that gets a 50. It's probably the worst I've played like all year. I guarantee there's nothing going to be as bad as this. So that get a 50. And the story I thought was, like I said, I did enjoy the Legend My Rise mode. Did you beat any of the My Rise modes yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, I'm not going to spoil anything because to their credit, I felt like if they wrote like this in the actual WWE, I may, and then all the back drama would be gone, I would probably invest in this game because I thought the writing for this story was a little bit more solid than most. Probably the most solid I've ever played. And they've been doing a pretty good job, especially bringing back old characters from the previous, fictional characters from the previous games to try to give it this video game universe of theirs. I thought it was stellar, but it was what it was. If they had better, voice acting and dialogue, I would definitely enjoy it better. So overall, it came down to having an 82 percentile, which in fact it matches up to what you said, and that is a B minus. So it's a B minus for me too. It could be, it's good by default. But when the other wrestling games finally come out, we'll have something to compare it to. And if God forbid if they're better, they need to step up because this may be the last year they can actually get away with this.
Agreed. And I'm really excited because now, right now everyone in the mainstream buys WWE because it's the only player in town. But when people have to choose where to spend their $100,
right,
that's when things get fun.
Absolutely. So, Boris, thank you so very much for being a part of this very special edition. I'm glad that you were able to make it on, and I enjoyed myself. And God, I'm going to bed because this was the longest review I've ever done.
Right?
But I couldn't do it without you, bro.
The irony is that it's for a product you don't even watch.
I'm not even supposed to be here today. Shout out to Brian O'Halloran, man.
Exactly.
Love it. That is how I feel about that. But as a wrestling fan, in the initial, at least to my credit, if I just solely based it on war games, this game would have probably got at least a 95 at best. Yep. And at least that, to its credit, lived up. And that's all I wanted. It's the first actual game to actually have a war games. I know for a fact that there was another wrestling game that was or is scheduled to have one. I cannot say it because I made promises not to say anything, but it's like now they were beaten out in this case. Yeah. So, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. But, they, to their credit, this hit, that was a home run right there. But we'll see. Let's see what they do in the future because now AEW and hopefully AEW stays stellar, that we get more that we asked for, and the Aki engine fully returns. So yes. We will see. So, Boris, thank you very much. I definitely appreciate it. I want to give you the opportunity to plug everything, all things, Sunday night's main event and Slam Wrestling. Go for it, bro.
All right. So I am a contributing writer over at Slam Wrestling. It's one of Canada's biggest wrestling publications, if not the biggest. Been around for years, decades. I do a lot of TV reports and opinion pieces there. You can find all of my work there at slamwrestling.net. For all of the podcasts, for all the shows, for all of my shenanigans, for wrestling-related shows, that at least you can go to snmeradio.com. If you're more on the geek side and want to listen to my thoughts on video games, on comic books, and that pop culture world, you can find me over at itscanonpodcast.com. And if you like sports, entertainment, and wrestling, I got something in there for you. I also have a show with my podcasting partner, Matt Ederer, and you can find us not only at SNME Radio, but you can find us at bamsportsentertainment.com.
All right. Well, thank you once again, and I look forward to joining you on your side of the world.
Yep.
Very soon.
We'll do that. We'll do that for sure. And notice how I'm like trying so hard to really show my shirt.
Shout out to the LOD.
Yep.
But just want to give everybody a heads up, and mostly the A.C.M.G. Fan base knows and the group members know. We are going to have a very special guest on the 28th, and that is none other than the Hokage herself, Molly Flanagan, who has come along to talk about what she has been up to and where you will see her next. And of course, her brand new TV shows that are coming out, her ABC show, Not Dead Yet, and the upcoming Adult Swim show that you got to check out. In fact, the first episode of Royal Crackers is out now on YouTube, and it's gotten a lot of views and a lot of great feedback. It is a funny cartoon that is coming out. It's like old school Adult Swim there too. So we talk about that. We talk about Not Dead Yet, which I highly recommend you guys check out on ABC and on Hulu. And Royal Crackers will also be on HBO Max the day after April 2nd too. So go anyway, check it out. But on the 28th, I will have Molly back on. We talk everything from Naruto. We talk everything from, everything that she's done with the shows. We talk about food because we like food. And it was great to talk to her. She's a great friend of mine. And I can't wait. She's coming up to Philly too for Fan Expo for our convention.
Awesome.
And we immediately, whenever she comes up, she takes me and my wife out to dinner in one of the best spots in town. So I got my homework set out for me.
Love it. Awesome.
So, folks, thank you again for this very special edition of Select Start. On behalf of myself and Boris Roberto Aguilar, all I gotta say is learn to let go, live life, and love all things anime, comics, movies, and games. This is A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live. We are out of here. Take care, and I'll see you on the Prime Show where I will review John Wick 4. Take care.